This is Chernobylite. We're here on Xbox Series X where the game is now optimized. So there is a big update to the game that improves the visual quality in some very interesting ways. So be sure to like the video, subscribing is great as well. So we have two modes here. This is the performance mode, which is getting us 1080p 60 FPS, but like ultra settings or something like that in regards to texturing and whatnot. So we're gonna jump in, do a mission or something like that. Hacking into the NRA servers, what? So we will assign, I don't know, Oliver, you go do that. I will go do this. And let's start the mission. And then later on we will be showing off the quality mode. So the quality mode is giving us a dynamic 4K resolution at 30 FPS, and it has ray tracing support, so that should be interesting to see a little bit of that in action and kind of showcasing that off. And again, we'll be diving into that, but we are wanting to show off the kind of 60 FPS sort of mode here. Immediately you can see just like a lot of fluidity within the world, which I think is kind of a big deal. And yes, I'm just kind of standing here, but I think it kind of just showcases the world just a little bit. So this is a game where, if you're not familiar with it, you are essentially going out into the world and you are scavenging, you are gathering supplies, and you are trying to figure out, what happened to your long lost kind of love. You're back in the Chernobyl land and you're dealing with that. So you go through these different areas, interacting with others. It's kind of like these little hub type worlds. And you can interact with others however you want. You can use stealth. Oh, he was never there. You can use stealth, or you can go in kind of guns blazing, which isn't suggested. But you really interact with the world in different ways, and I think that's kind of interesting. And it's got like a really neat sort of like sci-fi kind of element to it. I think there's a lot of kind of surprises and little things that you will come across as you play this, as it does mess with your mental psyche a little bit, which I think is quite fascinating. So you'll also see that as you dive into some of the more portal type elements, which is kind of cool. But you're also sending out different units to do different things, different tasks, different objectives. And I find that to be quite intriguing, is that it's also a management game. A, it's a shooter game, but B, it's also survival, it's management, it's telling your group what to do. And I gotta say, for like 1080p, it definitely it does seem like there is that resolution drop. That's definitely kind of clear. The fluidity is nice, but the clarity and the fidelity is dropped quite a fair bit. But I mean, to have 60 FPS is really nice. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy that. Was I found, or is he talking to somebody else in the game? I feel like this already happened. Okay. See, this is where the fighting gets intense. But, yeah, you gotta be careful, because, it's kind of a little hardcore. But what's really just neat about this game is the feeling of the world, the survival elements, the combat of it. It's kind of like a really neat sort of thing. And I think if you go for fluidity, you're going to quite enjoy that option. Now, that being said, it would be really nice if they could give us maybe another mode that bumps up the resolution a little bit more, maybe 1440p at 60. I don't know if that's possible, but, at least I am happy that we did get, an improvement to this experience. Hello there. Yeah, I think he's got some stuff. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Are you going to give me, like, health things? I'm kind of a little hurt that you, don't have health for me or whatnot. Alright, let's go in and let's take a look here. Because you got your objective, and you can kind of, like, tackle it in different ways. And there's different places you can go. You don't have to directly go where you're headed, if that makes sense. Which is kind of neat. But, yeah, so this is also, single-player experience. You kind of go in, you get the job done. You make these choices within the environment. It's quite neat, just the different situations you have to tackle along the way. Have any lockpicks? But yeah, a very, very creepy sort of game at times. Really plays around, again, psychologically with what you're doing.
Ты на месте!
Что нужно сделать? Прием.
Вот и славно!
Плевать.
Плевать, корми!
Blah, 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 blah. Let's just get on with this. We got a mission to do, but we're mostly just trying to show off, hey, this is how it's running and stuff, and give even bidding to the higher frame rate, and then also the quality mode, which we'll show, you know, in a little bit here. That's the biggest thing. I want you to get a feel for it gameplay-wise. And, you know, I have shown this off before. I do think this is a nice improvement for the game. Beforehand, it was just kind of that locked singular mode. So it's great that we get, you know, kind of choices now for how you want to interact with the game. I think that's fantastic. And the coolest thing about these optimizations. At the same time, I'm kind of like, oh, I wish we were getting these things pushing even further. It seems like a lot of different groups kind of just like, hey, you get a 4K 30, and then you get like 1080p 60. And I feel like there's more that this console can do. I really do. I mean, you know, getting the ray tracing stuff, pretty cool, but I don't know. It's just like I don't see why we couldn't get at least 1440p at 60. I mean, this does look technically quite, you know, from a visual standpoint, it does look pretty good for 1080p, I gotta say. Better than a lot of the other
Михаил.
similar offerings I've seen.
Оливер.
Yeah, I just kind of skipping through the dialogue. I don't want to spoil anything, and I also don't really care that much. But it does really have a good sense of atmosphere and mood. And if you're wondering why I'm not just, like, switching on the fly, you do actually have to, like, back out to the main menu and everything in order to switch the different visual modes. You can't just change them on the fly, which is a little bit of a bummer, because I like doing that. It makes it a lot easier to showcase things when you can swap. No, it looks like we gotta go in here into this danger zone. And then there's this other really cool aspect to this game. If you're not familiar with it, but essentially you do like a base building thing too, which is really, really cool. I like the base building mechanic because you kind of like, you know, you create your own little home. It's sort of like Fallout almost, in that you kind of do like a settlement structuring. That was very strategic.
Он сам себя подор...
All it took was a couple keys to break down this network.
Готово. Надеюсь, вам это не понравится.
Down, down. I'm so proud of what we accomplished here today. That was pretty easy going. I like how this doc guy is just kind of sitting here too. What's up, man? I guess we're kind of done. Oh, you get different companions, crafting recipes. You can see all these buildables here. It's kind of cool though that you can do all these like building mechanics. I sort of enjoy that. Yeah, I wonder if last time we kind of had to redo this almost. I'm just like trying to think of what we were doing the last time we were in this game, which was quite a while ago. But yeah, you can kind of just go and explore these different places. You're not really like sort of locked down. It's just this really kind of broken down environment that you're making your way through. And then also you got to worry about the rest of your team, right? Like some of them might have different issues and stuff. It is smart to go for stealth and whatnot. Thank you for that. Ow. I don't feel so good, guys. Great, so we're going to be showing off the photo mode here briefly, just a little glimpse into it, because I thought it was kind of cool if you didn't know that, so you can really get a look at the environments in this game. And then we're going to be switching over to the quality mode. Again, you have to go into the main menu to actually change this. You can't do it on the fly in the game. So you actually have to go to the main menu, choose the setting, reload the game. Luckily, the game loads faster, which is quite nice. But we're just going to kind of be showing off the puddles here and stuff like that. So I actually did get confirmation from the developers in regards to their RT applications, RT being ray tracing, because I was really confused. I didn't really see a whole lot, like we're doing a little comparison, but I didn't really see a whole lot of difference. It's a very, very subtle effect, but also a really nice little bit of ambience within the game. So like I mentioned, you know, this is dynamic 4K, 30 FPS. Obviously losing that frame rate is, you know, not the best, but it's a cool mode to take a look at. What I would say is basically like a next gen like feature, a cool feature set. So, you know, dynamic 4K, 30 FPS, you know, all that kind of stuff. But what are we getting for the ray tracing, the RT? So we get shadows. So ray trace shadows are realistic shadows that capture, you know, something, the outlines of stuff, the shadowing effects, you know, like real shadows, real-time shadows. So that's pretty cool, right? Really neat. Helps make the tree, because it's a very tree-heavy environment, right? And even inside, there's a lot of, you know, like the game really effectively uses like shadow casting and environmental visuals, and it's, you know, it's really, there's a lot of abundance of stuff. Like you look, you see there's good density within the different trees, the leaves, and you can see that we have, you know, these shadows, and they should be basically perfect shadows with ray tracing, and I think that's really cool. And then there's also reflections. So it's not really reflections like you might think it is. It's reflections on wet surfaces specifically, and that's why when I was kind of looking through, I was trying to find little puzzles, or sorry, not puzzles, little puddles, little places you can kind of see stuff, because you notice there, like it doesn't quite look proper almost, the reflections on those things. So I was kind of trying to find little spots where you can see the ray tracing really going in. So I think that effect is much more subtle. It does seem, when I was doing kind of comparisons back and forth looking at it myself, that you're more likely to see like bits of tree, you know, trees and stuff in there, but it's like, it's really quite a minor sort of addition in my opinion. It's not quite as noticeable as the shadowing would be. And outside of that, I mean, we do have really effective uses of shadowing and whatnot in gaming in the modern era, even outside of ray tracing. So, you know, I would say that the performance mode is kind of the way to go for this experience, because I think it does look pretty good. I also noticed this mode, it usually, like, if you're loading into an area, it takes a second or two for the textures to like fully get there. But you know, the faster loading is quite nice for this game, because you do a lot of that. You know, you go to different areas, you go into missions, you die. There's loading stuff. So, you know, it's interesting, the effect. It's a nice effect. I love when companies, or well, developers experiment with this feature, because this is, you know, how we get to that next level of gameplay realism. You know, like that's kind of, I guess you would say, end game game visuals. You know, perfect reflections, perfect shadows, perfect you know, lighting and whatnot. It doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, if you perfectly reflect something, it's perfectly reflected, right? You do perfect shadows, they're perfect shadows that are done in real time, and blah blah blah. So, you know, it's demanding, but eventually we'll get there, and eventually it'll just be like a standard thing that games have. You know what I mean? Like, it'll just be done. But because we haven't been able to do such a thing for so long, we've been relying really greatly on other techniques to fake the effect, fake the style, pre-bake things. But that's, you know, that's kind of expected. And this is going to be a pain. I always die in this segment, so this is going to be a little sketchy when we get in here. But yeah, it is really quite a fascinating sort of effect. And I love talking about the technology, because eventually it'll just be a thing that every game has, which I think is really cool. So, you know, it's not bad in this version. I do find it's also a lot like less smooth to kind of move side to side. It's a lot slower almost for the creepiness of the ambience. But, you know, I do like what they've done with this this sort of mode, this offering thing. I think it's kind of neat. But yeah, oh jeez, what a creeper. So just kind of interesting to talk about. You know, you do have the two modes. I suggest playing either or, you know, just to try them. I think it's kind of cool to try. What is this? There we go. Usually it comes out of the ground there, but today it's directly fighting me. Yeah, these things, this one always gets a little jump on you in the close spot here, and you're dead. And that knife, there we go. Sorry. Yeah, so performance mode would be the thing I would primarily play this on, I would say. You know, just to have that smoother level of fluidity. I think that's kind of important. It still looks pretty good, you know, all things considered. And, you know, I would try this quality mode, this, you know, with ray tracing, just to see what it's like. You know what I mean? Just get a feel for it, you know, especially if it's something, because it's a next gen like feature. Now, I really would like to see some sort of middle ground. I don't know if they'll do that. You know, for a more indie-like effort, this is actually kind of impressive that we're getting this. But I very much would like to have something a little bit higher resolution with that higher frame rate. Like, I feel like if we're going down to 1080, we should be getting like 120 FPS. And I feel like, you know, something at 1440p or, you know, even a dynamic 4K should be able to give us 60 FPS. And I know they're doing the ray tracing stuff, but it's like it's a very subtle kind of effects. Like, I don't... You know, we always kind of be like, oh, shadowed ray tracing. It's like, no. But I mean, it's cool. It really is quite a cool feature. But it's like, yeah, I would like a higher resolution experience with those frames. That would be ideal. But it's a cool update. I think it's quite interesting. I'll leave you just some more gameplay where I'm kind of going around in laps, taking a look at everything, seeing how the map kind of area looks with this effect on. But it does have like nice, warm feeling lighting. The shadows look nice. The little subtle reflections at times can be pretty cool. It's a neat game. It's a neat concept. I think some people would really have fun with this one, especially when it kind of plays around with things in the environment and the scavenging. And I have learned after doing this video clip that this game is really annoying when you take damage, and it's like your screen is covered with red stuff, and the vibration is just going boom, boom, boom on your controller, and you really feel it, and it's just like, oh, please turn off. But yeah, so there you go. I hope you enjoyed this look at Chernobylite.